Hello, everybody. We're open tonight for fun and so glad to see you here. This is Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast where we discuss the solo careers of John, Paul, George, and Ringo, and occasionally the Beatles as a group when there's something exciting new to talk about, or old even at times. I'm Joe Mayo, and I'm sure a lot of you know my channel already on YouTube, Me, Mr. Mayo, where I have a very Beatles centric channel and I delve into some other things for fun and music and some movies occasionally, etc., etc., etc. We're going to have a good show for you tonight. Before we get to our main topic, though, I'm going to introduce my co hosts, starting with the author of a couple of books here that I was able to dig up to show, in addition to singing songs we were singing, guided tours through the Beatles' lesser known tracks, and fandom and the Beatles, the act you've known for all these years. I'm talking about the queen of all books, Kit O'Toole. Hello, Kit.
Hello, Joe. Wow, you've added yet another.
Yeah,
Books. I love it.
yeah. There are a lot of things left. Yeah, we haven't.
I don't know.
There's millions of things we haven't used yet. All like plastic wrap, the queen, everything. And the queen of all Scotch tape dispensers, everything. All right,
Love
so
it.
we'll get there. All right.
I love it. Hi, everybody, and hi, everybody out there. This is going to be a great show tonight, I think.
I agree. Okay, next up, he's half of the Two Legs McCartney podcast. He went to see Paul recently. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And he does the show Two Legs, and you can see it different places with his partner, Andy Nichols. I'm talking about Tom Hunyadi, the great Tom Hunyadi.
Hi, gang. Good to see you. It's another Monday night and a great night to hang out with my buds, and I hope you all are doing well.
Okay, Tom. Okay, and last but not least, we have our 40-year veteran of Beatles radio and history. Has a Beatles radio show syndicated, a weekly show, Every Little Thing. He hosts the Things We Said Today Beatles podcast, one of the co-hosts, and also has a Beatles-related YouTube channel and interviews a lot of interesting people. We're talking about the show called Ken Michaels Radio, and here he is, Ken Michaels.
Hey, Joe. Ken. Hey, Tom. Hey, Kit. Great to be here. Excited to talk about, our main topic,
which is 30th anniversary. I can't believe that for a second of Time Takes Time. Ringo Starr, 1992, and this came out on CD and cassette, I think, and only vinyl in certain places did it come out. Germany, Mexico, Spain, and Brazil. But we're going to discuss that and talk about the album that I just think is a tremendous album and often overlooked and shouldn't be. We'll get into that. But before we do, we're going to start with Ken Michaels. And as usual, he's got some news for us. So, okay, Ken, let's find out what's going on.
Okay. Well, first of all, it looks like Ringo Starr has received an honorary doctorate from the Berklee College of Music for their class of 22. Ringo went online to say, "Trust me, I'm a doctor." Of music, of course. Congratulations to the class of 2022, Berklee College of Music, who graduated today. Send you all peace and love and my thanks for this honorary doctorate degree. You might recall that Paul McCartney also received an honorary doctorate of music. That was at Yale University. And that was back in 2008. And a reminder that Ringo's new tour with the All-Stars starts Friday, May 27th. So that's less than 2 weeks away now, with the first of 2 dates at the Casino Rama in Ontario. And without an official word, Paul McCartney gave us a teaser in the program booklet that accompanies his new Got Back tour. Show it, Tom.
Yep. I was gonna wait, but
But yeah,
but go ahead, keep going, Ken.
There's always a visual with my news.
Yes.
It's all supplied by Tom. Well, in this booklet, he says to check out his website, paulmccartney.com, for information on new archival releases from his catalog. So the rumor mill continues, with fans speculating that it will be London Town and Back to the Egg, the last two Wings albums. And Paul has been selling coasters on his tour.
I got them coming. they're
That's just not possible.
they're coming. They're on their way.
Okay. So there's coasters that they're selling, and on his website you can get a set of 4 for $40. One with London Town, another with Back to the Egg, and one for Venus and Mars, and one that's a world map. This no doubt fuels the fire even more for a London Town and Back to the Egg package, much like the recent Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway one. And also, thanks to our listener, Greg Rappa, the digitalbits.com website is described as the internet's leading source for DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K HD industry. And they're saying the revised street date for the Blu-ray for the Beatles Get Back documentary is now July 12th, but that is subject to change. They're the only ones I've read that have said that so far. There's no official word again, but that's according to this website. Speaking of Get Back, the documentary series just got a nomination for a 2022 MTV Movie and TV Award. It received a nod for Best Music Documentary honor. The award will be given out as part of the MTV Movie and TV Awards Unscripted Ceremony. This is a reality-focused spin-off of the original show. Both the 2022 MTV Movie and TV Awards and the MTV Movie and TV Awards Unscripted will air live from Los Angeles on June the 5th. Don't ask me what any of that means. I'm all confused.
I was going to say, okay, cool. Cool then.
Yeah.
The new video that was made for George Harrison's Isn't It a Pity, Take 27, from the archival box set For All Things Must Pass, just won 2 Clio Awards. Danny Harrison sent out congratulations to the team called Assembly, that's David Zonshine and Kelly Mahan, for their wins. The video received bronze awards in the categories for, was one for music videos, the other for animation. Danny says, I sobbed me eyes out the first time I saw this. Mega nice one. That's a quote from Danny. There's a lot of news here about the Beatles kids. According to ChimeraMusic.com, the 2 albums from the Claypool Lennon Delirium, featuring Sean Lennon, will be coming out on repressed colored vinyl in stores May the 20th. Those are for the album South of Reality. That's the Amethyst edition, and Monolith of Phobos and Demos Moon editions. I'm sure Tom is getting ready to.
I've got both of them already.
I was going to say I could see the gears turning.
No, I mean I've got the first pressings.
The wheels are turning at all times.
Yeah. It's a never-ending. I don't know what you want to call it. It just goes on forever. Yeah.
And concerning another Lennon, that's Julian. We already know that his new single, Every Little Moment, has been released digitally, as has the B-side called Freedom. And he has a new album called Jude on the way. Don't have an official release date yet, but he has done 2 interviews that I know of to promote his new music, one with Elton John, the other with Jordan Runtag, and they're both on Apple Podcasts. Jordan is someone that I've had on my Ken Michaels Radio YouTube channel, just did a show with him. He's a music journalist, and he's written for People, Entertainment Weekly, Rolling Stone, and he's done a lot of podcasts on Apple Music. So both Jordan and Elton John both interviewed Julian Lennon just recently. Abbey Road on the River, the annual festival that features primarily Beatles tribute bands from around the world with some special guest speakers, will be running May 26th through the 30th in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Guest performers include Tommy James, The Circle, and the Fab Four. They will also have something called the Love Concert 2.0. To find out more, visit their website at arotr.com. talkmoresolotalk.com. Finally, some key members of the Beatles family are going out on the road, including Billy J. Kramer. So far, one date at the Cutting Room in New York City. That's on June 6th. I'd be going, Billy. I'm seeing Paul that night. I'm sorry. Gotta make sure. This goes for Billy J. Kramer, Peter Asher. I'm going to mention here. Don't do shows when
Right.
Paul and Ringo are giving concerts at the same time. So again, Billy J. Kramer is at the Cutting Room in New York City on June the 6th. Peter Asher teaming up again with Jeremy Clyde of Chad and Jeremy, performing at the Kate in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. That's on June the 20th. I should be going to that one. That's all the news I got this time.
Ken, somebody, Christian is asking, Christian Dahl is asking, have you ever interviewed Julian?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I did
Go.
one time, and that was when his last album came out, called Everything Changes. In fact, that interview is on my website, kenmichaelsradio.com. We talked mainly about the new album, and he was great. Very warm, engaging, went into specific cuts on that album. And Julian is someone who I feel that, and it's even more true now, he's such a perfectionist at what he does. He's very meticulous about his music. He takes his time with everything. Hey, it's 11 years since the last album. Everything changes. So we go into depth about that album. And if you want to check it out, it's on my website. It's either on interviews, page 3 or 4, but it's there in its entirety.
Well, thank you very much for that question, Christian. Before we start our official show on Time Takes Time, we want to talk a little bit with Tom, who was very lucky. He lives in Arizona, and Paul was not coming to Arizona, but he managed to get a very nice offer from a friend to see Paul. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it was just crazy 48 hours. Thanks, Joe. But Thursday I was, at work in the morning doing my thing, and I started getting texts and phone calls from a gentleman in California who was a fan of our shows, and asking me if I wanted to go see Paul in SoFi, and he had an extra ticket. His wife wasn't going to go, so I called my wife up, and I'm blabbling. All she hears is Paul McCartney, and she says, "I'm still sleeping." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll come on. We'll talk about it when I get home." So obviously, throughout the day, I'm just my nerves and excitement are going crazy. I get home before I even say anything. Nikki's like, "Give me a minute and we'll find a plane ticket for you to go to California." So, she was very understanding and very, just excellent helping me get a plane ticket and, to go to California. So, so the next day, I worked a little bit. Then I flew out. I got in at like 5:30. The guy's name is Rick Rogers, and he picked me up at LAX. And good thing is that the arena or stadium was only 4 miles away. So, but with traffic, it took a while, but we got there and, went straight to the merch line and, got some, shirt. And then, there's the tour book, which is absolutely beautiful, just a stunning tour book. It goes over the archive editions, like, Ken, like you were talking about earlier, where it, talks about, check back on that website, but nice interview with them, interviews with the band. So that's a really nice tour book. So I definitely recommend that. But again, it's, you get there and last show we were talking about the set list and how it needs a facelift or whatever you want to call it. But again, when that show starts, it's all the criticism about the voice, and about the set list. It just goes out the window, and you're in the moment, and you're having a great time. Everybody else is having a great time. The SoFi Stadium was just massive. You just do a 380 or whatever, and it's just you just take it all in, and it's incredible. I saw him in '93 in Detroit at Pontiac Silverdome. That was where the football team played. And again, it's just a massive stadium, and it was the same thing here. You just don't believe how big it is until you're actually there.
Wow.
So but when he was doing Let It Be, everybody had their flashlights on their phone, and it was all up. So I got a shot of around the whole stadium, and it was just really something to see. But listen, I'll be straightforward with you guys. He struggled in certain places, but he has for a few years now. We know this, okay? But the backing band, the band is there. They're backing vocals. They help, with that. The addition of the horns from the 2019 are even more amped up this time. At least that's what it appeared to me. And Kit, I text you that that word that we won't say here right now. But,
I was excited.
yeah, I know. But highlights, Junior's Farm, Let 'Em In, 1985. Now here's the thing, he does You Never Give Me Your Money, okay? Now he doesn't start it off with the actual You Never Give Me Your Money. He goes right into the out of college money spent bit, and then into, it's really weird.
Huh.
He doesn't actually do You Never Give Me Your Money. He just, like I said, right into out of college money spent, and then the One Sweet Dream part, and then then they go right into She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which you guys might like. Hopefully you guys like how they do that, but it was kind of really weird, not hearing that first, You Never Give Me Your Money part. So I don't know why they chose to do that, but he does say, this is the first time we ever did this part, live, which I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not, but
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, he did You Never Give Me Your Money in, was it 2005 or 2003?
Right.
Done that.
yeah, but did they
It was
go
just
into
him on the keyboard,
right?
doing it, and he made it sound like he couldn't remember the words.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
But
I
he did
remember
that at every
that.
concert. It was
Right.
all staged that way. But that particular section of the song he was performing.
Right.
But was this the
And,
whole band doing the song from scratch, or was it?
Yeah, the whole band was
Okay.
on stage doing that. Yeah. And like I said, he goes into You Never Give, or sorry, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which that was great too. That was the first time I got to see him do that as well. So that was a big highlight.
Tom,
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
didn't see the tour when he did Too Many People going into?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't see. I think that was 2005, was it? Maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
the three
Yeah,
Beatles.
but
Well, the
yeah,
first time
something
he
like
did
that.
Too Many People, I remember being 2005.
Yeah,
Okay.
for all the Wings fans.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Sure,
but
Paul.
but I'll tell you though, because I talked about this the other night on the Two Legs thing, but again, we criticized, or we just said what we said about something, and we wish he would do something else, but it's still so moving and emotional when he does that. And this is the third time I've seen him do it now, and it's not any less emotional when he does it, and it's still as powerful as the first time we saw that arrangement on the Concert for George. So it's again, it's very, very powerful still. The I've Got a Feeling bit, was really cool. Ken, you'll like it because it's just John's image. They don't go off into the onto the street. It's just it's just John. So that's really good. The
But
chord,
where did they get that from?
go.
Just because I was thinking,
Peter
when I saw
Jackson.
that,
Yeah.
somebody, I know Peter Jackson, but I mean, there's not a shot of John through the whole thing like that by himself that we've seen anywhere in
Right.
Let It Be or in Get Back. Just John straight
Right.
through. So I'm finding that interesting that there's another angle or something.
Yeah, and it's all up close, image of John's face, singing.
Yeah.
And when it's over, he goes, Peter Jackson contacted me and said I could give you an isolated John, vocal for that song. And he's like, yeah. So, so you obviously Paul was really, really excited about that. Live and Let Die. So we were 6th row for this, and we were off to the side on 6th row. But again, when Live and Let Die comes on, and I actually felt the flames. It was just so powerful. Ooh. Yeah, it was like hot.
I thought some of your hair was missing.
Yeah, exactly. I think
I got eyebrows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was just to experience all the flames and the fireworks that up close was simply amazing. And I see what why people might dish out the big bucks to sit that close, because it's a whole nother experience being that close. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And then the thing is then then he goes, I got a feeling, it's a birthday in Helter Skelter. Okay, so he's shredding his vocals. Okay, so then the last 3 songs, Golden Slumbers, we know it's coming, and I'm going to myself, how is he going to pull off Golden Slumbers after just shredding his vocals for the last 3 songs? And I was amazed that he did it. I mean, he didn't struggle at all with the Once There Was a Way. I mean, it sounded really smooth. I was really shocked, and I would be honest with you guys if it sounded like crap. He pulled it off. Maybe I'm amazed. We were, Rick and I, we were staring at ourselves, going, "Did he just pull it off?" Because we were just amazed. It was 10 times better than that poor Saturday Night Live performance.
That was painful.
Yeah. And I said, from 14, 19, and 22, now this was the best performance of Maybe I'm Amazed he's done in those 3 times that I saw him. I mean, he it was an 85% job from Paul. It was really, really good. And I've like I said before, this isn't, it's unfortunately it's not 72 Paul, it's not 76 Paul, it's not 89 Paul, it's not 2005 Paul, but I was really happy with the way he sounded, and I thought his voice was a lot stronger than it was in 2019 and 2014, the last 2 times I saw him.
And you were saying don't pay attention to the cell phone footage that people have been posting.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube. Yeah. I mean, the footage, because I have heard a couple, and it doesn't sound great. But when you're actually there and you hear it, it's a whole different thing. Yeah. So
I noticed that too. From MetLife Stadium in 2016, I think it was. He said it's really great in the stadium, but when I watch some of the clips on YouTube. You're not there. It's a little different.
Right. It's a different thing. And then, I was finally sitting down, with the Golden Slumbers thing. And again, you're watching him do it, and it's coming to the end, and you can't help to think that this could be the last time I ever see Paul live. And that was really why I wanted to, do this, and get emotional again. But I really didn't want to miss this opportunity, because it could be the last. And yes, he did say, he did say, I'll see you next time.
You should.
But you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. Now I do have one question. What was the Beer Run song?
To be honest with you, I wasn't paying attention to people leaving. I was just focused on the stage and the big screens. That's all I was paying attention to. And then obviously I took the shot of people, with the cell phone lights, for Let It Be, which was kind of cool. But I didn't, because I was so up close, I really didn't get to see, people coming and going.
That's true. Yeah, you were in a different spot. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's the same. Whether it's My Valentine or For You or something somebody people don't know. So, but but it was an amazing time, and I would be honest if it wasn't, But again, I was just so pleasantly surprised with his voice And but again, I'm over that. It's not going to be what it was. It's never going to be what it was again, and I'm over that. I'm fine with it. Again, it's just the set list that I have the problem with. But again, it's a great time, and I really hope that it's you guys, Ken and Joe at the, and Andy going to the MetLife. I really hope you get that same experience that that I got, because I was just tickled pink throughout the whole show. And Kit, I hope you go and get to experience it as well.
I'm thinking about it. Now I'm really thinking about it.
Right.
I just want to bring up a few things.
Yeah.
I've noticed this time out, I know it's so far, it's just the first leg. It's only a certain number of dates, but he's really spacing out the concerts more. So he's resting his voice, and that can really help him.
Good idea.
Right. And I will say that one of the things I was really disappointed about was the fact that he's switching out Woman and Wives, for every other, show. And, I'm the kind of guy that I do like to see new songs played at, these legendary acts shows. If they've got new material, I want to hear a couple of those songs live. Right. And although I love Let 'Em In, I'll listen to Let 'Em In live, because, he had the trombone going and, and the horns going, I'll listen to that live all the time. But I would have really liked to have heard Woman and Wives live,
I'm the same way. I've also noticed, almost every day I see an article written about Paul and one of these concerts. Every single review is glowing.
Yeah.
I have not seen one bad review.
Right.
And this is even before COVID, the recent tours. Everybody is just they're so impressed by what he can pull off. And yes, there's the occasional mention of his voice being strained, but there's so much respect given to him, and rightfully so, that here he is, almost 80, and he's able to do this for 2.5 to 3 hours.
Right.
So, and who else has a catalog this great?
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's definitely the catalog. I mean, it's the 60-year, catalog that he has that, people. I mean, well, it's really that first 10 years that people really, want to hear, in my opinion. But again, it's. And he was really energetic. I've heard some people say at the Oakland show that he just seemed like he was phoning it in. But with this show, I mean, he was really, into it, and very energetic and very talkative, and just seems like he was having a great time, So again, it was just all around a really good show. Debbie Cox was saying, she was there, and I wish she would have messaged me. Maybe we could have said hi, but it was just so many people there. But great time.
How many people?
Yeah, exactly. How many people?
I think there's a lot more people than we realize that want to hear stuff beyond.
Yeah.
But those very same people are still going to see Paul anyway, because they're loyal, and they're still.
And that's the thing, when we had that, when we had Joan on for that first review we did after the first show, it's like that was her 68th time, seeing him, and she said, I would like to see a new set list, but it's still a great time, and it was. I echo that sentiment. It's still a great time. I mean, you're not going to not know any. I mean, people like us, we're not going to not know any songs. We're going to know everything he plays. So, but you guys are going to have a great time. Now, I'm not telling people out there, if you're like determined to not go, don't, because you won't have a good time. But if you're on the fence, go, have a great. You'll have a great time.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah.
okay, we're going.
I know you've convinced me. All right.
Listen, it's.
And I have to mention Blatu Bear, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, mentions Wrigley Field in 2011. There were no beer runs because the beer came to the crowd. Yes, indeed. I was at that show. Nice. And it was also hotter than hell. It was that show. I don't know. I don't know if I've been to a show that was hot as that show was. I mean, Paul and we all were drenched by the end of that show.
I bet.
God bless him. He powered through it. It was a great show.
He's a pro.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
I do
Absolutely.
wonder, since you mentioned Live and Let Die and the heat
Yeah.
that you felt, what it
Mhm.
must be like for Paul and the band on stage while
Oh,
that's
on stage, yeah, forget about it. It's like add another 50 degrees to already how it is inside. But it was actually kind of cool inside
Hmm.
the stadium, you
Hmm.
know. I mean, at one point, you know, like halfway through, I actually put on the hoodie that I bought and I put it on, you know, because you know it wasn't even it was a little chilly, you know. So, but again, it's California, it's at night, so it gets cool there at night, you know. So, but yeah, go
Hmm.
have a good time, please.
Oh, okay. I think I'll go.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
If it
yeah,
works out. Well, and
yeah,
hopefully when I go, hopefully there's a visit for
yeah.
hopefully
But
Paul's
and I
birthday.
will say though too, one last thing. If you're gonna go early because the merch, and I'll you know,
Don't
if
go
Robert's
early to
here,
the New Jersey
yeah,
show.
right, right.
Go late.
Because until Joe gets what he wants.
Yeah.
but
Right.
but you know, if you're somebody that, you know, needs an extra large shirt, those tend to go pretty quick. You know, so doors usually open at 6. Try to get there as soon as you can, because I was actually in line between two different lines for that first hour I was there. I was actually in line waiting to get what I wanted, and that's how
Wow.
long it took. So yeah.
By the way, I made it a point not to watch anything on YouTube because
Yeah, yeah.
even though I know the set list, but just
Yeah.
so I know, was there any, like he usually has the half-hour music mix before the concert?
Yes,
You
yes,
had
yes.
that?
Yeah. Yep,
Okay.
yep, that's there. And again, I think there was a couple different new mixes in there. So you know, that was a really good you know, that's always a fun time. You know, people are like, oh, he doesn't need an opening act. You know, he's just
Hmm.
got so much music that DJ is playing, you know, all of his music already and getting the crowd pumped up. You know, and excited for Paul to come on. And then that half-hour bit where it's kind of like the you know, you're just climbing up like one tall building, you know, and they're just playing all those different mixes. Yeah, that's a great time too. No, they still had those coasters, Steve. And actually, somebody from the Oakland show, I asked him if he wouldn't mind getting me the set. So I'm just waiting on him to send me
It's
a
getting
set of
late.
coasters because I
Time
know,
takes time. Tom.
I know. I
Time.
know that. I know, because I
Let's
didn't
go.
know
It's
if
a
I was
Ringo
going to
show.
go
Let's
or
go.
not. So a buddy sent me the coaster. So okay, I'm going to make a wardrobe change, and you guys have a good time.
Yeah. Oh, it was gonna change his wardrobe. So anyway, I'm gonna talk nice and slow. See, that's the way to do it. No, well, thank you for that very, very informative recap of Paul's show there, Thomas. All right. So while waiting for a minute while George changes his guitar,
Oh my
All
God.
right,
That
there we
was
go. Whoa,
fast.
look at
there
that.
you
That's
go.
amazing. Thank you for turning
And
the
as Paul
camera away.
says, that will be the only wardrobe change. Oh, and he did take a sip. He did take a sip of whatever it was that he took a sip of. So he did drink something. I did see him actually drink.
Wow. All right.
So you do admit to that.
Hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now for our regular show topic for tonight, that we were going to be talking about, Time Takes Time, the 10th album from Ringo Starr. And the album was released May 22nd, 1992 in the US and June 29th of 92 in the UK. Boy, it seems like only yesterday to me. You know,
Mm.
it's amazing to think that it's 30 years ago.
Jeez.
I think next week or
Wow.
so.
Wow.
But this album was released on private music. You know, Ringo had trouble getting labels. We know
Right.
that kind of story that happened with Ringo before. And a lot of producers on this album. Don Was, Jeff Lynne, Peter Asher, Phil Ramone, and a plethora of musicians,
Yes.
singers, vocalists.
Mhm.
You know, I was looking them up. Really, too many to name, I think.
Yeah.
But among the highlights, Brian Wilson,
Mhm.
some harmonies, Harry Nielsen, right, and also the start of Ringo's collaboration with Mark Hudson
Mhm.
as well. And you know, I always thought of this as kind of like a comeback album. Sometimes I don't like using that, but for Ringo, I mean, his last album before this was old wave 9 years before that, which had only gotten released in, I think, Canada and Germany. I think,
Germany.
Yeah.
you know, the only two places. And because he was having trouble with labels, and he had fallen into bad alcoholism, in the 70s. And so, although Ringo admitted that he probably his whole life, but it really took a toll a lot in the 70s. And this album is the first new studio album that Ringo did following the success of Ringo's first all-star band tours, which
Mm-hmm.
was pretty cool. First, studio work. But I mentioned about the alcoholism, and what's really important is that it's Ringo's first album following his sobriety. And he's been doing a great job sober since 1988. Ringo's never, we know this. He never looked better. He looks so youthful and he's so healthy looking, and everything. And bravo for Ringo putting out this album. And for me, I mean, I felt like he really, really tried with this album. He really wanted it to be a good album, and he got a lot of good support, and just a lot of good songs too on it. 10 songs on it, and I like the whole album pretty much of this one. I mean, there's one or two, not as much, but that's quibbling. I love this album, and for me, without a doubt, I always tell my viewers on my channel, me Mr. Mayo, that. If you want to hear a really good Ringo album, try Time Takes Time. For me,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
it's right up there, right after his self-titled 73 Ringo classic album. I put this as the second one. And before I continue, I always say this with the Ken. I've said this before. I remember, you know what I'm going to say, right? I loved it. Before I, personally knew Ken, I knew of him, but I was watching the Donahue show, I think in 95. And he was in the audience, and he asked Ringo a question, and he said, "Hey, I really like this album. I think it's one of the best albums you've done." And Ringo appreciated that.
Yeah, that was a big highlight for me.
Wow.
A number of people that we know were in the audience there and asking questions.
Wasn't
Wow.
Rosenet there too?
Charles Rosenet was there. He asked a question
Yeah.
too.
Hmm.
Oh, very cool.
Very
Very
cool.
cool. All right. So
I had my wife.
the only thing, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I had my wife next to me. We weren't married yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
cool.
Wife to be, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Ringo was always extremely open, and he did a lot of publicity, and he was very open about in '92, time of the album coming out, talking about what he went through, his struggles with substance abuse and stuff. He was very vocal about that. He's very proud of I think the album and starting his all-star band and all the good things that were happening to him. All right. Unfortunately, which we'll get to later more, I've always been very disappointed, though, that despite this being an exceptional effort, that it failed to chart. And that's not because of the product. You know, not at all. I think Ringo probably a lot of people still weren't giving him a chance at this point. Still, maybe they remembered. Maybe the publicity wasn't as good as it could have been, as strong. Any ideas out there, crew? What you think?
Well, part of the reason is because he was on a label, Private Music, which was a small independent label, and I'm sure they didn't have that much money to spend in promotion. And their history was they had a lot of instrumental music, a lot of new age music that they were known for. And they were just starting to get more into mainstream artists like Taj Mahal, I think Ravi Shankar as well. But yeah, we've talked many times here on this show about radio being the primary way to promote music. And as artists get older, their music doesn't get played to a younger audience that buys most of the music. Now, that's not to say that this couldn't have done well if it didn't have a bigger record company with more clout and spending more money in promotion. Because if I had any say in the matter, judging by other veteran artists of the time, like Elton John or Rod Stewart or Eric Clapton, who were doing very well on the adult contemporary charts, which is an older audience, I would have pitched the songs to that format of radio, like Weight of the World, or if In a Heartbeat was released as a single, which it should have been. So many songs from this album would fit that format. But as we've come to learn, you could have a strong album that doesn't sell well at all. You can have a weak album that sells very well if it's promoted well. So this is definitely, I agree with you, Joe. I think it's the best album he made after the Ringo album. And it should have done so much better. And The Hands of Another Record Company, maybe it might have. But the top 40 stations of the time wouldn't touch Ringo anyway. But adult contemporary.
Well, there's a comment here I'd like to read that I just noticed by Daniel Reinhold. Says, I have to thank you guys and gal for this one. Gave up on his albums after Stop and Smell the Roses. Discovered your podcast a few months ago. Heard all the love for this, so got it. Bloody brilliant.
There you go.
Hey.
And I'm always recommending this album. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, you're right. This is good.
Right.
So, I have to say this in the front because, Ringo is underrated a lot by even Beatles fans, And I always say this, you can't go wrong with the Ringo album. You can't go wrong if you get the album Photograph, the best of Ringo.
That's a good one.
A good sampling of his career. And this album, if you want to stop there, at least do that, because I think you'll be happy. All right.
Absolutely.
And all right, Ken, you mentioned Weight of the World in there, and that's the first single. I loved it. I thought it was such a great commercial song. Had that been released earlier in his career, that would have been a big hit. What a shame. It had Brian Wilson on I think he was on backing vocals or harmonies. Also Jellyfish.
No, Jellyfish was.
I think Brian Wilson.
In a Heartbeat.
In a Heartbeat.
Well, I thought both.
Well,
okay.
I got the booklet
I take
out.
it back. Do me a favor, cut this out, will you? This part.
No, Brian Wilson is not on Weight of the World.
Oh, okay.
No, the Jellyfish guys are on the. Weight of the
okay.
World.
So we'll cut this out.
All
Anyway,
right.
no, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about the single first. Weight of the World. We'll go around. Kit, let's start with you.
I absolutely loved this song from the moment I heard it. I by the time when this came out, I was in college. And so by this time, I was really into the Beatles. I was starting to get in, I was into certainly the solo stuff. I wasn't as into Ringo solo at this point, but Weight of the World really won me over. I mean, I just loved it. I remember seeing the video on VH1, back when they played music. Remember that? And and the video did get some airplay on that. But and I think some stations, like in Chicago, WXRT, which Terry Hemmert, who hosts the Chicago Fest for Beatles Fans, played that. That just grabbed me. I love it's definitely Beatlesque. I mean, from the very start, even as a little Birds kind of sound to it, but it's not cutesy about it. It just has the right amount of Beatlesque quality to it. But what I love is, the lyrics are just so meaningful, particularly where Ringo was at that point. It's like that, as you mentioned, Joe. I mean, he had come out of rehab, was rebuilding his career, kind of rebuilding his life in a way, and singing, about letting go of the past, unburdening yourself. I love the line, "You either kiss the future or the past goodbye."
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's just, and I also love how in the beginning he's addressing, first addressing, the woman, saying, "I know you've been used," but then in the second verse, "I know I've been used," and then in the third, "We've all been abused," so it's like he's making it a universal kind of experience. So I just, so while the music is very upbeat, I mean, if you weren't paying attention, to the lyrics, you would think, oh, this is a very bouncy, fun pop song. It's very meaningful. The lyrics are quite meaningful. I think Ringo's voice is very strong on this. And Don Was produced it. I'm a big fan of Don Was, loved Was Not Was too. And I just thought that what a great single, one of his best.
Yeah, I agree. Tom, do you remember when you first heard this, or
yeah,
it
it was
along
around
later
that same time. No, it's around the same time. I remember seeing the video on VH1 as well. I did get the album, or the CD, I should say. And like you, kid, I love that opening, the opening verse. I mean, in a way, it's kind of Lennon-esque in a way. These lyrics, I mean, they are, pretty powerful and raw, and dealing with family, and like you said, I've been used, we've all been used. I mean, that's Lennon-esque too. I mean, he does that in a few of his songs as well. So this was like, a staple of Ringo's career. I mean, I wish he would play the song live. I mean, this song should be something that he plays for all of his tours. It's just that good of a song. I mean, and this was perfect. This was a perfect opening single for Ringo, for a comeback album, comeback single. Went to 74 in the UK, so maybe a little bit of didn't do well, obviously, but like Ken said, I mean, older acts weren't getting played on the radio, unfortunately. I mean, it was very, very rare that someone maybe like a Tom Petty would get through on pop radio, or every once in a while Rod Stewart and Elton John or Eric Clapton would break through with this track. But no one would expect Ringo to have such a strong album, and a strong opening song like this. And unfortunately, maybe a small label, like you said, Ken, just didn't have the funds to really push this album, which is just too bad, because that is a great opening track.
It's also very hard to bounce back when you haven't had airplay for a very long time,
right?
With your new music. So the last big hits that Ringo had, depending upon what you consider big,
I mean,
My
Brain
song was a number 3 hit, and that was 1975 when it charted. And then if you want to consider A Dose of Rock and Roll, which went to 26, or Rack My Brain, which went to 38, I just remember.
Right.
But it's still a long time since he had a major hit, and still he hasn't had one since.
Right.
Really, if you going top 10, the No song.
Right. You should mention too that this was his second attempt at a comeback too, because in '87, they were doing those Memphis sessions too. However, if that was going to be attempt at a country album, that probably wouldn't have any legs to stand on either. Even though as much as we would love to see him do a country album,
Well, there are bootlegs of some of the songs, and they don't sound that good. He was still having problems with his alcohol at the time.
Exactly.
And it shows. And Ringo didn't want it out. But you look at now, there are people who wish Ringo would make a country album. It seems to be like everybody's top list. Ringo could do such a thing, but
I think that's the only way. Back to talking about live and stuff like that, with Ringo doing it live, Way to the World. I remember him being on the Arsenio Hall show promoting it, because Ringo always liked to do that, right? He would go out a lot of with the whole bands, and in this case do the song, which I thought was great. Seeing him perform with the All-Star. I remember Nils Lofgren, I think, was there. Joe Walsh. He had everybody with him, I think, for
Dave
that.
Edmunds.
Yeah, and it was really nice. Well, Ken, of course, I know you like me. We're the two oldest ones here, and I mean this is 1992 isn't so long ago for Tom and Kit. As far as like when they were growing up. But I saved you for last on this because you obviously remember vividly the deal with this coming out. And what was your feeling about it? Way to the World, the whole.
I thought it was a great single then, a great song then. If anything, I love the song 10 times more today than I did when it first came out. I do think it's not only one of his best singles, it's one of his best songs, period. The way that it starts with that with that guitar sound, very Beatles or Birds-ish, very mid-60s. There are certain songs on this album that do sound very Beatlesque without going overboard, which sometimes Mark Hudson would have the tendency to do, but there's a lot less of it here. Nothing against Mark Hudson. I always praise Mark Hudson's work with Ringo, but I've always loved Weight of the World. It's very infectious, a great chorus. Sometimes, like, because of the actual lyrics and the message, I'm thinking of Carry That Weight. It's kind of like the same thing in a way, only far more elaborate in the lyrics of this song. And like you said, Kit, Ringo's vocals are great. They're perfect for this song. If this album came out right after Ringo or Goodnight Vienna, it would have done it. I think it would have been, a top 10 album. It would have continued.
Oh yeah,
the same line. Yep. So the timing is just so important for something like that. But
agreed.
Weight of the World would have been a big hit if it had followed, Only You and the No No song.
But of course, a lot of the topics here, some of the topics, like which we'll get to some different songs, like "Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go." I mean, that song can only be a reflection of Ringo coming clean and everything, which is one of my favorite songs on the album. So we're gonna talk a little about that too, like highlights, songs that we really enjoy from here. And so, Tom, what do you think? What's some of your favorites, or maybe ones if you don't care for some? It's fine. Well, what do you think?
I mean, I guess the better question is what song don't you really care about on this album? Because there's only one, for me.
What Goes Around and Runaways?
No, actually,
Runaways.
Runaways for me is just the only song that really. I mean, it fits okay. Maybe I just don't like his vocal approach on the song. Maybe that. I mean, but musically, it's fine. But it just got a different feel. It's not as bouncy, I think, as the rest of the songs are. But it's still an okay song. But Golden Blunders for me is a highlight. I really like that track, and I'm listening to, and it's almost kind of way in my theme song in a way, because I always get in the way when I shouldn't to. I say things I probably shouldn't say at times. So it's definitely one of those reflecting songs. But All in the Name of Love, I love. I mean, the 9 of the 10 songs I just think are great Ringo songs, and any of them could have been any of those 9 songs could have been the follow-up single if it was allowed to, if Weight of the World would have done better, and if there was a follow-up single, I think any of those 9 would have been. I Don't Believe You with the Jellyfish, I think, is just fantastic.
Yeah. That's Beatlesque too, there's some Beatlesque touches on here for people that like not us necessarily, but people that like, well, I like it to sound like the Beatles, there's some Beatles sound-alike stuff on here.
Right. Don't Know a Thing About Love. I love it's a great catchy chorus on that one, and a great nice guitar solo from Mark Goldenberg. All in the Name of Love, again, guitar solo by Mark Thompson is great. After All These Years is just Ringo and Jeff Lynne, and that's I wish that was kind of like what kind of something closer to what on Flaming Pie they would have done with Paul for Really Love You. I wish it was kind of more upbeat like that. I Don't Believe You, again, I already said, In a Heartbeat. Diane Warren, was this the first song she wrote for Ringo?
I believe so.
And a nice chorus. He sings this well, and it's just, I think it's a great tune for Ringo. So again, it's just one highlight after another for me. And again, the only song that really just doesn't work for me is Runaways. But I mean, this whole album is a highlight, so that's why I just
it's good record, as they say.
Yeah.
All right, Ken, you?
Well, I like every song on this album, truthfully. No, really. The argument can be made, certainly after the Ringo album, that And we've talked about albums like Ringo the Fourth and Bad Boy, and all the solo Beatle albums to me have worthwhile material on them. But how many of them are consistently strong all the way through?
Mm-hmm.
This is an album that's like that. 10 cuts, they're all very good. I get the feeling that, because if you read, there were extra songs that were recorded or attempted, and I get the feeling that Ringo said, these are the 10 best, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I look at this album as being the start of Ringo's Renaissance. Because following that up with the albums with Mark Hudson, which I think were really great, and then even after Mark Hudson, the big difference is, I feel, that Ringo really started to put the effort in. You know, there's a feeling that you get after, well, certainly after Goodnight Vienna, that there are certain really great songs on those late 70s albums from Ringo, but there's some filler there. It's kind of like, let's wrap the album up. I got enough good songs on there. As long as I had 10 songs, I'm happy. But that's not what I get with Time Takes Time. I think he really chose this material. He said, these are the 10 best songs that I've got, and I'm going with them. And they all work. And every single song is strong. I could definitely hear In a Heartbeat as a single. In Heartbeat's another one, kind of like what I say about Ballroom Dancing being the greatest single that never was. In a Heartbeat is like the greatest Ringo song that wasn't a single, that really has a 60s feel to it. And Brian Wilson is on it. And it does have like a Beach Boys feel to me. I always think of Don't Worry Baby whenever I hear In a Heartbeat. It's got that kind of vibe to it. And Diane Warren, she's one of the most successful female songwriters of the last 30 years or so. And she also wrote Here's to the Nights,
right,
just recently on the EP for Ringo. And it really works. It's one of the catchiest songs, incredible chorus. I don't know how anybody who hears In a Heartbeat can think that it's one of the best songs that Ringo has ever done. But no, I've been impressed with this whole album. And probably what impresses me the most is that you have 4 different producers. And with the exception of the 2 Jeff Lynne songs, you can't tell what's a Don Was song and what's a Phil Ramone song and what's a Peter Asher song, because there's a real consistent sound throughout the whole thing. And, you know, song after song, after all these years, it's fantastic. It's just Ringo and Jeff Lynne and nobody else. That's because Jeff Lynne is a one-man band to himself, like Paul is. But there's so many great songs all throughout this album. All in the Name of Love, I could see as a single. Definitely. What Goes Around is a great closing song.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, the only song I had trouble with was Runaways, kind of like you, Tom.
That's still my least favorite.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those songs like We Didn't Start the Fire, you know, constant, you know, not really melodic, just talking your way through the song.
Right,
but,
right.
The message in the song is really strong, and the lyrics of that song are really strong. And the lead guitar solo in there was fantastic. Sometimes they list 2 guitarists on the track, and I'm not sure which doing the lead guitar work. But no, this album is really solid all the way through. There's one thing that's really important for me to bring up with this album, why it's even more special to me. One of the few complaints I ever make about Ringo is that throughout his solo catalog, up to this point, where the drumming is concerned, there are almost always 2 drummers. Ringo and Jim Keltner, Ringo and Steve Gadd.
Right.
This album, it's just Ringo. So on previous albums, if you have 2 drummers, I'm thinking to myself, what's Ringo playing? What's Jim Keltner playing? My ears can't pick up and tell the difference, you know, but here, you know, it's Ringo. So I appreciate the album so much for that. And you really get to hear, you know, a lot of his drumming is just what's perfect for the song. And you know a Ringo feel when you hear it. So there's so many great things to say about this album, but most of all, it's just the effort was really put in, and it shows on all 10 songs, as far as I'm concerned. This the most.
I agree about the effort for sure. All right, Kate, you're up. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, absolutely. I think Ringo's voice throughout just is so strong. on this. I mean, really, I think best he sounded in a long time. I mean, these songs just suited him, his range. The drumming, as you mentioned, Ken, was just stellar. And I like how all the producers on this album really knew how to showcase those drums and sound. I mean, some of them had some reverb, but it wasn't too much. There were some tracks that had a little more reverb on them, but it was just to add some more power, and it was, very deliberate. And so it didn't bother me, that there was some more reverb. It just was, just some pounding, powerful drumming on there. So it was just great to hear Ringo do that again. I have to agree with you guys on Runaways. That was probably one of my least favorite tracks. And to me, it was like the instrumentation was fine. As you said, the guitar solo, great. I think for me, I just don't think Ringo was, in that case, the right singer for that song. I wanted to hear like a hard rock vocal. I feel like that needed and I was trying to think, like, I don't know, Sammy Hagar or something like that. I was trying to think of like a hard rock, vocal. Like I just felt like it needed something like that rather than Ringo. It's just, nothing against Ringo at all. I just didn't think it was the right song for his voice. That was the main thing that bothered me about it. And the only other songs that I'm not as crazy about, and you guys are gonna throw tomatoes at me, but yeah, get ready, get out the baseball bat.
I know what you're gonna say.
Is All in the Name of Love and I Don't Believe You. Those two, they're okay. Yeah, to me they're okay. They're pleasant. But
I don't believe you. A little What Goes On-ish. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it has a nice little country twang. That's fine. I like that. I don't know. They
forget about those rings and things and the powder for your nose. How can you not like that line?
Okay, that's a decent line. That's a decent line. But I just didn't think they didn't stand out for me as much. I don't hate them or anything, but my gosh, the other tracks on here, I mean, just incredible. Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go, one of my all-time favorite Ringo tracks. Crank That in Your Car. It's just, a good time. Classic Jeff Lynne kind of production, and you can always tell a Jeff Lynne production too, that drum and guitar sound with the slight reverb. It's just as soon as you hear it, you're like, Jeff Lynne. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And Golden Blunders, as you mentioned, Tom, I love that one. Great lyrics, very reflective. I love the hard hitting drums, as I mentioned, with those slight reverb during the, sort of when the music drops out. And very catchy. Ringo's voice sounds particularly strong there. After all these years, Jeff Lynne again, it sounds like, ELO could have recorded that too. But I liked it. In a Heartbeat, as you guys have talked about. And it was funny when Ken, you talked about, was it Don't Worry Baby? Reminded you? Yeah. In my notes, I wrote Beach Boys sound. So, it definitely had that. What Goes Around, that is a great rocker. And I just love that it lyric wise, it kind of is like his version of Tony Bennett's I Want to Be Around. Just a great kiss off kind of song. Saying, well, you cheated on me. Well, what goes around comes around. And just and then that kind of epic jam that happens toward the end. And it's just a great album closer. And you can just tell Ringo's just having a ball. It's just wonderful. As you said, Ken, he just sounds so engaged on this album. Also, as you point out, there are all these different producers, but it's not a glaring transition from cut to cut. In fact, I was surprised with Don't Know a Thing About Love. I was convinced that was a Jeff Lynne production. And then I look it up. Nope, Don was. I thought, my God, I thought that was Jeff Lynne. I was convinced. So that's how much they can sound like each other.
Right.
But it is just, I mean, a stellar effort with top producers showcasing Ringo at his best. Ringo engaged, great vocals, great drumming. I mean, despite the the slightly, the songs that I found, slightly less good. I mean, I'll put it that way, because they're not, I don't hate the songs or anything. I love this album. It's great. This and Ringo that I love.
Yeah. And What's My Name, the album, not the song, the album.
Oh yeah, and What's My Name? That's a great one too. I like that one too. Yes, absolutely, Joe. I agree.
Some comments here. Someone says, "Don't know a thing about love sounds current and not dated even to this day." Well, I know I love it, and I love the female. It's female, I think, or whatever it sounds like. The vocals, the vocalists in the
I think
background.
those are the two guys from Jellyfish.
Yeah.
Again on that.
Yep. I don't believe you. Yeah.
Two guys from the back as well.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, you're making a fool out of me on this show. Guys and girls, this is ridiculous. No, female backing vocals really great on it. Daniel says. Daniel is not female vocals. Well, but it's V-esque anyway.
It does sound like it.
It does sound like it.
I think if you look, I think there are female singing along
with
some of these songs.
There are some. Yeah. And good point. I was going to make that, by the way, that this does not sound dated. The whole album does not sound dated at all. Good point.
Right.
Well, I don't know how that one sounds like modern, but I would like too much modern music. So,
but it doesn't. It really, none of it. I mean, it does sound like it could be recorded today.
Yeah. A couple of things that we should mention as well is during these sessions, he recorded the song "You Never Know," which ended up on the Curly Sue soundtrack, and this was also the album that Paul sent him the "Angel in Disguise" track.
Paul, that Paul, he's in on everything. You know that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's always got something to that Paul. And notes.
If you read the Eight Arms to Hold You book, they list other tracks that were worked on.
Right.
There was a song during the Jeff Lynne sessions called "Call Me."
Right.
Not the same one that's on Goodnight Vienna.
Right.
Right.
That was unreleased.
Yeah, and then everybody wins.
Cruel.
I think everyone wins, everybody wins. And then if you have the Japanese version, which this is, then you get the bonus track, which is "Don't Be Cruel."
Cruel, yeah, fun cover.
Yeah, I had that on I might have had that on a single or something. I had that on a CD single. "Don't Be Cruel," the Elvis cover. Speaking of covers, I didn't know. I better get this right. I didn't know for a long time that "Golden Blunders" was a cover.
Was a cover?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that when I first took it.
Posies.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. That was a blunder.
Posies,
Blunder on my part. I made a couple of golden blunders here, but So what other songs do we got here? Well, of course, everybody wins. Everyone wins on the "Why Not" album, right? We did it, and all I know is one of my favorite tracks off "Why Not." I think it was "Why Not" is "Everyone Wins," which could have maybe made this album.
The original version of "Everyone" or "Everybody Wins" was released. It came out.
Yeah, it was a B-side.
The German CD single.
German.
It was. Wow, I have to have it. I don't have it.
"Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go."
I must get that. I must get it.
Oh, I don't have that either.
I really like that song. And what about the Curly Sue song? "You'll Never Know."
You never.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
But there's one
that
other
was also
song
another one
that's I found to be very interesting, which is, and this is just what's been written up. Apparently he recorded "Thank You for Being a Friend."
Really?
Part of the Peter Asher sessions. Well, Andrew Gold is on this album.
Yes.
And he's on Golden Blunders. So he was there at the sessions. And that's a song that's listed that Ringo recorded.
My God, I would love to hear that.
So I wonder, maybe it was attempted, it wasn't finished. I don't know what, but Yeah, kind of interesting that, if you think about it, that was recorded while the Golden Girls was still on television. So that song was, heard quite often. It still is in syndication. Right. But it's not like he was bringing back an old hit from Andrew Gold, because the song was out there every single week on television. So, yeah, would be interesting to hear Ringo's version of that.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, imagine they should have used that version for the show.
I still want to seek out his version of "I Can Help," which he did during those Memphis sessions.
Yes,
perfect for Ringo.
I could totally hear him doing that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's a perfect song.
I've heard that. I've heard that before, Ringo's version of it. Yeah, that's one that I've heard. I don't remember where.
I'm sorry. When I was on the air in New Jersey on WDHA, somebody said to me, doesn't "I Can Help" sound like Ringo? The Billy Swan version. And I never thought about it before. And now it's like, I could hear Ringo do that, and lo and behold, he ended up covering it during the Chips.
Yeah,
but he could probably do, if it's really, well produced, a good version of it.
Sure.
I could. One thing that I wanted to mention is whenever we discuss something like, I know I've discussed it, "Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go." I always say how there's a part in there that when I first heard this, I really loved and still love. And something I later became sick of. And you know where I'm going with this. I always mention this. It has to do with Ringo name checking and "Don't Come Easy."
Oh, "Don't Come Easy," yeah.
And I just love the way it comes off in this song. I thought it was so cool to reference that. I said, "Don't come easy." And,
but I do like the lyric that's before that is, "Now I'm back and I'm here to say I'm looking out for number one." I think that's a great line for a Ringo song. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna really do it up here because I feel like doing this. All right. I saw him perform again on Arsenio another time. He did "Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go," and he was on. And I was walking in the midnight sun, I think was one of the lyrics. And I wish he did it on the record the way he did it there. He has this thing he does when he really gets it. He's really affected him, and he's really in a rocking mood. He goes, "I was walking in a midnight sun." I love when he does that. It really rocks like that. I remember him doing that. I saw him like singing, "I want to be your man" like that. I want to. Tell me that you love me, baby. When he does that sometimes, I like when he really lets himself go like that. And I remember him doing that every time I watch that clip. And I'm like, oh, it would have been so great if it was on the record.
That song sounds great live. I think he did that when I saw him on the All-Star Band tour, where he had like Billy Preston, the guy from the Young Rascals, whose name I'm blanking out on.
Felix Cavallari.
Cavallari, yes.
He's playing with Mickey Dolenz now.
Yep. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah, and he did that song on that tour, and it was it just sounded great live. Wish he'd bring it back. Bring it back, Ringo. If you're listening or watching this in your current tour, do it. It sounds great.
And that is our show. I have nothing else to add of this album. I've been giving my opinions all along. I really like 8 of the 10 songs very much, and
Did you say which songs you didn't like?
Well, "Runaways" probably my least favorite, and I never really warmed to the last track, "What Goes Around," but I'll give that another chance after this show. Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I played the whole thing. Used to play it in the car all the time. And just I don't know. It's a fun album in most places, uplifting, kind of bouncy. It's a feel good kind of album, I think. It's so well produced. The whole thing just sounds good to me. And again, we've said this a million times here, but I'm telling you, give it a chance. If you say, well, look, is any Ringo stuff that you would recommend to me? This is a good one. Yeah. I think a lot of other ones are good, but that's another story.
Aged like a fine wine.
I don't know. Anybody? I'm sorry.
It's aged like a fine wine.
Fine wine, yeah, like a fine glass of water right there. Tastes
I give 5 of the tracks on here a 5 out of 5. I just
5
think
out
it's
of 5 from Tom.
Wow.
A lot. I mean that many songs, and then what's like 3 tracks, 4 out of 5. I mean it's just a really great.
Well, I didn't think
strong
to
album.
rate them. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to, but I was just like, I'm like, this is a great song. This is a great song.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if we can get any comments in here, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I'm out of ideas for this album. Hey, we pretty much covered it, I think. Unless anybody has any other thoughts they'd like to add. Well, I'm looking for comments.
Yeah, I'm looking too.
No duds on this, yes. No duds on this. Full of highlights.
I think you also got to give a lot of credit, even though I always say the songs come first, but the musicianship throughout this whole album is just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just look at the names that are on there. These are heavy duty musicians that have done so much studio work, that they've been on so many albums from so many great artists. You got Jeff Baxter on there. You've got Michael Landau on there.
Yep.
I really got to hand it to the two guys from Jellyfish for their background vocals, Roger Manning and Andrew Sturmer. They add so much to these recordings, and I don't believe you, by the way, was written by the two of them anyway.
So, they had their own version. They did, right?
I don't know.
No, I just think they wrote the song.
It's not great. I'm telling you. You can go. No, that's true. They did their own version of it. I'm looking at
it's
it.
possible.
I got this off the internet. Different places, not just one place either. I think they did their own version of it. Yes.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
Never again. That's the last show. That's it, folks.
Oh wait. Oh, here we go.
To the delight of a few.
Richard, I'm going to give this album another listen tonight. Never gave it a proper shot. Please do. I think you will really, I think you will change your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, really, listening to it again, because I hadn't listened to it in a little while. Listening to it again, I just thought, God, I'd forgotten how great this album is. I mean, it's it really, and it sounds as fresh today as it did 30 years ago. I'm still just processing that this is a 30-year-old album.
You know, over the weekend, I was playing it in the CD player, and I was just letting it go, and I was letting it go, and I was letting it go, and I'm just like, this is such a fantastic, poppy, upbeat record.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what more can I say? But no use to pad it out anymore. I think we covered it all. So any last thoughts? Be my guest, folks, co-hosts. We're good.
I covered everything, really.
Yep.
All right.
It was the start of the great run of Ringo's solo albums.
Yeah.
Ringo Renaissance
albums.
Next one was Vertical Man was next, right? And
Ringo
was
Rama.
also good.
Choose Love.
So we'll get into all of those eventually.
Yes,
all right.
indeed.
So, Kit, I'm going to hand it over to you. We talk about, where to find us and all that good stuff.
Indeed. Well, of course, you can find us right here on this YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Our subscriber count is going up thanks to you guys telling your friends, but we need it to go up. And so
you know what it's doing now? It's going up.
And so please tell your friends and just keep those, help us get those numbers up. But thank you as always for your support. And you can, of course, find us on virtually any podcast platform if you prefer the audio version. And I've heard from a number of you lately who mentioned that you like listening to our show as well. And we thank you for that. One person emailed me recently and said he likes to listen to our show while gardening. So, take us along while you're gardening, while you're exercising, whatever you like. You can also email us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. Give us your feedback. If you have ideas for future shows, let us know, and you just might see one of your ideas on a future episode. You can also find us on the web at talkmoretalk.com. You can follow us on Twitter at talkmoretalk1. That's the number 1. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. And if you subscribe to our page, you can be notified of any our future episodes coming up. And we a lot of times post news or news about any projects we're working on. And so you can check us out there. I think that's everything.
And what projects, Kit, are you working on? What's going on your plate?
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who tuned in to my first chat, live chat on our YouTube channel. It was a lot of fun, just kind of an experiment that I did, and everybody seemed to enjoy it. So I think I'm going to do it again next month for sure, from the backyard, Chaos and Creation in Kit's backyard. So be on the lookout for that. I will also be making an announcement very soon about a class, actually 2 classes I'll be teaching in the fall. So I'll be in the next, I don't know, month or so, I'll make an announcement about that. It's a class, this 2-part class I'm very excited about. So I will let you know that in the near future. And next month, I'm also going to be co-hosting another Tuesday Night Record Club, which will be on the Go-Go's Beauty and the Beat. I'm really excited about this. I remember this album as a kid. The Go-Go's were heroes to us girls back in the day. I mean, I remember they were once introduced on, I think it was Solid Gold, if you guys remember that show.
Mm-hmm.
They were actually introduced as an all-girl band, and they all play their own instruments.
Isn't that a surprise? How can you believe that?
Yeah, that's how they were introduced. I mean, like that, it's like they were a novelty. It was ridiculous. So, it just times have changed, thank God. But yeah, so I'll be doing that next month. Just follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and I'll let you know dates, times, how to register. It's absolutely free for the Tuesday Night Record Club. So I think that's everything.
Well, Kit, did you ever hear the original version? And yes, there is one of We Got the Beat.
I think I have a long time ago, but I haven't heard it recently. But yes, there is I know there's an original. Yeah, that's a cover. They did.
All righty. Okay. Yep. All right, Tom, what's going on with you? I know there's always a lot of stuff going on.
Always a lot but I promise I'll keep it short and sweet. The last 2 weeks, Andy and I, we've continued our series called Things We Bought Yesterday and Today, where I'll show things that I've gotten recently, and Andy will show things that he's had in his collection for years. So check that out. That's called Things We Bought Yesterday and Today. We also did a 25th anniversary show for Flaming Pie, if you can believe it's been 25 years. Isn't that crazy? Again, our last recent episode just dropped this past Saturday, where we talked to author James Campion, where he talked about his new book, Take a Sad Song, The Sad Currency of Hey Jude, which is out June 1st, and gone over some of that, and looks like a really good read. And again, and then on Two Legs, I just did my recent take on the SoFi show, which I talked about earlier in this episode. So you can listen to me babble on for about an hour for that. If you want to. So that's Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast on the YouTube channel, and we're all over the audio platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. You can check us out there. It's twolegspodcast@gmail.com. You can get a hold of us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We're getting more and more listeners, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tom. And now it's Ken. It's your turn. What's going on?
Okay, I'll try to keep this brief, but in the last couple of weeks, my YouTube channel has been really active. And I got to admit, I can't believe all the strong interviews that I've had. You might recall the last time we did a show, I talked about this guy, Sean Ross, who is a radio industry veteran, and I talked about whether or not radio is still relevant today. Well, Sean came up with this idea, why don't I get together a lot of Beatles DJs? And so I do a show with Joe Johnson of Joe Johnson's Beatle Brunch and Andre Gardner, who hosted Breakfast with the Beatles on WYSP first in Philadelphia and more recently WMGK. And we all have done Beatles shows for a long time, 30 to in my case, 40 years. And it's great to have all three of us together on camera talking about our history and our love of the Beatles and even talking about Get Back. the documentary. So there's that video. Thanks to one of our listeners, Mike Nari, I got to interview John Harris. John Harris is a producer who produced and mixed live in Japan for George. He was there during the tour, and he actually went back with George to Friar Park at his home and worked on the mixing of it there. And he talks a lot about his experiences with George, but he's done a ton of work for Paul over the years. John Harris's work has been to produce live music events, not studio recordings. So he was involved with everything from, the Grand Central Station concert for Paul, going back to the concert in North Carolina in 1993 on Fox Television, the concert for Sandy at Madison Square Garden, all kinds of events for Paul McCartney. He didn't really spend that much time getting to know Paul that well. He spent a lot of time with Jeff Emmerich, though, who worked on a lot of these live recordings. So he talks a lot about that. And it's 2 hours, and you learn so much, especially about what he had to say about what George was like as a person. Likewise, Bernie Hamburger. Bernie Hamburger is a guy whose career has been as a musician and also someone who's repaired guitars and also designed guitars. And he actually gave George Harrison the green model guitar that he used in the Real Love video and on the song. And he designed an electric mandolin for him and a 9-string guitar for him. He tells you his whole story. He also gave a guitar to Carl Perkins as well. His story is absolutely amazing. I interviewed Paul Sally, who's the author of Little Wing, the Jimmy McCulloch story, all about Jimmy's life before Paul and Wings and after. That was incredible. David Wild I interviewed. He's known for being a music editor for Rolling Stone for many years. And he's written a few books on the TV show Friends, one on Seinfeld. He's been a producer for the Grammy Awards for the last, I think it's 30 years or so. And he also collaborated on Lifted with Ringo, as well as the book before this one from Ringo, 30 Years with the All-Stars. So we talk about that and his experiences with Paul and George as well. And the last interview I did was with Jordan Runtag, who I mentioned before. He's a music journalist for Rolling Stone, Entertainment Weekly, does podcast shows for Apple Music. And he did a Number 9 Dream show with me on Paul McCartney. And he also talks about his new interview with Julian Lennon. So that's all on my YouTube channel, Ken Michaels video.
Boo!
There's a lot to dive in there. I'm telling you, I can't believe how revealing a lot of this stuff is, especially John Harris and Bernie Hamburger talking about what it was like hanging out with George, and how down to earth a regular guy he was.
And all he's talking about here, like just a sample, Danny, just a little sample. That's all it is, just a little sample.
Okay.
Just 2 more things we said today. We'll be doing a new show Wednesday this week, so it should be out Wednesday or Thursday. It's actually a listener suggestion, and it has to do with transitions in Beatles albums. This listener came up with this idea, and it's actually a lot tougher than you think. You have to talk about a Beatles album and a song that you think could have been on the previous album from the Beatles that would have fit there, and also what might have fit on the next album.
Wow.
I think to say not every Beatles album was a drastic change.
Right.
There were some smooth transitions, like what song from With the Beatles could have worked on Please Please Me, and what song from With the Beatles could have worked on A Hard Day's Night. And you take it through all the way through, Abbey Road, considering that the last album. So we're going to do a show on that. And then there's my website, kenmichaelsradio.com, every week with Beatles trivia. I've got a game up there right now called Follow Me, one of Paul's songs, and you can win one of 10 great prizes, including I have an old copy of the DVD for Rock Show. It's 1 out of 10 that you can win. That's kenmichaelsradio.com. If you can, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. A lot's going on. I got more interviews coming this week. Ken Michaels Radio. Thanks a lot.
Wow.
Cool. Thanks, Ken. And over at my channel, meet Mr. Mayo, I got nothing.
Oh,
there's a lot of good stuff there, but
yes, you do.
You'll find out. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching. This has been a lot of fun as always. I've had a great old time. And for my friends here, Kid O'Toole, Tom Hunyadi, Ken Michaels, this is Joe Mayo saying, don't go where the road don't go, because you'll never outrun the gun. I said it don't come easy.
Good night.